Hi, I'm Graham.
And I'm Tracy, and together we're the Flying Finnies. If you're new to this channel, we are a 50-something couple on a quest to get to 60 countries by the time we turn 60.
We've recently spent a fantastic couple of weeks in Morocco with a quick side trip to Gibraltar, so if you've missed out on those videos, don't forget to click on the links and go and check out the other adventures that we're up to.
In this video, we're taking you through Montenegro and Croatia, which is countries 16 and 17.
It raises the question, if you only had one of those countries to go to, which would you go to?
Good question, because I still like both.
So we spent about 10 days in Montenegro and around about 2 weeks travelling through Croatia. Both beautiful places, fantastic areas to visit, and the water in both was just unbelievable.
In this video, we're going to show you what we saw, the fantastic places we visited, and also just compare the two to help you make a decision about what's best for you if you only have time for one.
So stick around to the end and we'll give you our thoughts on where we would go back to if we had the opportunity. So let's have a chat about Montenegro. We were there for a couple of reasons, I guess.
Primarily to catch up with a really dear friend of ours from Australia. It was great to have a week just relaxing with her. And the second reason was to see the country. We had wanted to go to Montenegro. We'd heard it was beautiful and it did not disappoint.
Part of our rationale was actually looking for less expensive options in Eastern Europe over the summer. I'm not sure we fully achieved that, but we certainly got part of the way there.
It was less expensive than other parts of Europe that we'd been in, but it wasn't as inexpensive as we'd hoped it would be, I suppose is the right way to put that.
Now, we flew into Dubrovnik from Morocco, and the transit from Dubrovnik through to where we stayed, PERAST, was actually pretty easy.
Had to go through a couple of border controls because you are changing countries, and that can take some time. So what was supposed to be, I think, a 2.5-hour bus journey, or even less, turned into a nearly 4-hour bus journey because you just get held up at the borders.
But of course the best thing was the view along the way, and just travelling along the coastline of Croatia, across the border, and then into Montenegro and following the path of the water as it curves around through the bays was fantastic.
Yeah, it would have to be one of the most beautiful bus journeys we've been on, for sure. Now, we didn't explore a lot of Montenegro, but we felt like we had a really good introduction to the country, I guess I would say. We spent most of our time in a beautiful place called PERAST. It's like a little village on KOTOR Bay, lots of hotels, everyone's there enjoying their summer. It was just delightful.
PERAST was a wonderful place to spend a week or so. The restaurants there are fantastic. Some of them a little bit more pricey than others, but the food was to die for. The other thing is that you can jump on a boat from PERAST and go and visit a few of the local attractions. The Blue Caves, you can go swimming, the James Bond Tunnel.
Oh yeah, that was great.
And also there are a couple of islands very close to PERAST. One of them was closed, but we were able to get to the island of Our Lady and take a little bit of a wander around. Very popular, very touristy, but still a great day out.
PERAST is a really small village, and we spent most of our time just swimming, eating and catching up with our friends. So it was a really lovely week. If more activity is more to your liking, there's a town about 5 kilometres down the road, but it's about a half-an-hour bus ride, called KOTOR. And it's a beautiful old town, very historical, and lots more activity, lots of bars and restaurants, a bit more of a party town.
The thing I loved about KOTOR was walking around the walls of the old city. It's absolutely beautiful, very, very well preserved, and ducking in and around all of the piazzas, the beautiful shops, well worth a couple of days. Now, KOTOR can be a popular area for cruising, and there were a couple of ships anchored in the bay and at the marina. The crowds were there, but really didn't affect the feel and the enjoyment of of wandering around this beautiful town.
We really lucked out with accommodation in Montenegro. I was able to book a fair way ahead because I knew my dates, and we got a really great value little studio apartment with fantastic views over the water. We couldn't have been more fortunate there, actually.
You can drop a lot of money in Montenegro if you choose to, but by searching a little bit further, there are other budget options open to you as well. From Montenegro, we travelled by bus back to Dubrovnik and then headed to the north of the country to meet up with our youngest daughter, Bella, in Zadar.
Our itinerary here was really determined by our daughter's time frame. She had flights out of Dubrovnik, so we decided to start in the north and head south to get there for her flight.
That actually worked out really well because we were able to spend a couple of days in each major location and enjoy the attractions that each of those provided.
And weren't there attractions?
There were.
Lots. We had a really good time in Croatia. Zadar is a really beautiful city in Croatia and was a great introduction to the country for us. The main attractions for us, though, from there were the national parks that we had access to, and we did a couple of really great day trips to those places.
The first thing that we wanted to do in Zadar was to book a cruise around the area. Now, there are a whole range of different options open to you. We decided to book to go out to the Kornati National Park. It's around about 3 hours on the ferry to get out there, and you do get a lunch included as well, but the really enjoyable part is stopping off at an island and swimming in crystal clear water with abundant fish swimming around you.
I had never seen water that clear in my life. It was incredible. I think we're both in agreement that the absolute highlight of our trip to Croatia was our visit to Plitvice's National Park. It was everything I imagined it to be and more. We had lots of recommendations not to miss this, and it's been on my bucket list for a very long time.
We decided to hire a car so that we could get there super early. I think the park opens at about 7 a.m. We were there by about 8, so we weren't the first through the gate, but we were fairly close. It's a really good day of walking, so pack your shoes. But all of the beautiful sights, the waterfalls, the beautiful lakes, certainly makes it well worthwhile.
I would definitely recommend going as early as possible, especially at the time of year we were there. It was peak period, lots of crowds, but the park handled it really well. It was a really great day out.
Our next major stop was to the town of Split. Now, I was really looking forward to this, mainly because I've seen it so many times in Game of Thrones.
Luckily for me, the old town has a lot more to offer than just Game of Thrones. It is a really beautiful, comprehensive old town with a really great museum that we spent a few hours in as well.
One of the main attractions in Split is to head out to some of the islands for a bit of a visit, and there are a couple of ways that you can do this.
You can book a tour of various lengths that'll take you out to, numerous islands, which sounds like the really easy way to do it, but it is the more expensive way. So what we decided to do was to just use the local commuter ferries to get to various islands. Now, the first island that we visited was Hvar, and we had a really beautiful day there.
Hvar is a large island, and so there are options for you to hire a scooter or a car to get around. We considered that, but it was quite expensive to do it. Instead, we decided to use our legs, take a bit of a wander around, and instead we found all of these beautiful areas where we could stick our toes in the water and have a little bit of a swim.
We stuck more than our toes in the water and enjoyed more of that beautiful, crystal clear, turquoise Croatian swimming water. It is just out of this world beautiful. There was another island that we really wanted to visit, Korsala, and that would have meant another day trip from Split. We then realised that instead of taking a bus between Split and our next stop of Dubrovnik, we could actually take that commuter ferry that we'd been talking about. So we decided to do something a bit unusual and just actually have a stopover at Corsola for the day on our way to Dubrovnik. I think that was a really good decision in the end. We weren't sure how it was going to work out, but we had a fabulous day there, and it was a really great way to commute between the two towns.
Corsola is a beautiful place. The day that we visited, it was super hot. And so we alternated between hanging out in the shade of restaurants and just swimming again in that beautiful water.
Graham's underestimated it a little. Corsola is probably the most beautiful place I've ever been. I loved it, and I'm actually really sorry we only had a day there, but I guess that's part of what this trip is about, finding those places that we really want to come back to at some point in the future, and Corsola is definitely on that list.
Now let's have a chat about Dubrovnik.
What a beautiful place Dubrovnik is. It is just one of those must-see cities. Again, we'd heard lots about it. I was almost prepared to be disappointed by Dubrovnik, but I was not. It was absolutely stunning. I would not recommend going there in high season though. I'd love to go back and spend more time, but I would not be going at the end of July, early August like we did. It was extraordinarily hot and extraordinarily expensive for the flying finnies.
Now, one way to reduce your costs whilst you're in Dubrovnik is to purchase what's called the Dubrovnik Pass. It can be purchased online and it will cover your costs of bus travel, entrance up onto the walls of the old town, as well as entrance into a number of museums around the city.
Yeah, that was lucky that the host of our accommodation suggested that to us because we weren't aware of it. So it was a really good tip from him. Saved us a lot of money.
The walls of the old city are open from 8 a.m. and it gives you the opportunity to climb up onto the battlements and to walk around the perimeter of the old town. It was fantastic.
We chose to do it really early. As you know, it's not normal for me to be up really early and out the door, but it was a good decision because again, it just avoids the crowds later in the day and the heat later in the day. It was hot enough at 8 a.m. doing that. I wouldn't have liked to have started that climb at midday.
We probably spent about 2 hours walking around the walls, albeit that we stopped off at a couple of nice cafes along the way and also a maritime museum, which I really loved.
What I loved about walking the walls of Dubrovnik was the fantastic views of the sea that you got from there and also the views of the old town.
Now, it is unsurprisingly a UNESCO World Heritage listed area, and it's probably the best preserved medieval town that I think that we have seen so far in our travels.
It's time to make a decision. Croatia versus Montenegro. What's the winner?
Two fantastic countries, and each had its own special charm and, I guess, advantages.
It's really hard to compare the two, as always, because we spent longer in Croatia and we saw more of Croatia than we did of Montenegro. We really only saw a really small part of Montenegro. So if I had to choose one without the opportunity to ever go back to a place, I'd choose Croatia. I mean, Plitvice's National Park was out of this world beautiful, and the water in Croatia again was just, I can't even describe it. It was so cool. But having been to both places, I would go back to Montenegro, probably because we haven't explored as much of it. I'd like to see more of it. There's a lot of really beautiful mountainous areas apparently in Montenegro, so I've read, I haven't seen it. So yeah, I don't know if that helps your decision or not. Croatia would be my first choice if I had to make a choice, but I don't feel that I need to go back to Croatia, but I feel like I need to go back to Montenegro. We really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button. We're only at country number 17. Lots more countries to get to on the way to 60, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And it is now time to
Time to fly.
fly.